Greetings, my fellow freedom-loving Simon thinkers. This is L3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date, Tuesday, May 18th, 2017. And it was rainy, sunny, now warm. Hey, that's part of living in South Florida. All right. I'm at CJ's Lounge, located at 400 Southwest 1st Avenue along the New River of Fort Lauderdale, and right at the southwest section of the Andrews Avenue Bridge. Yeah, I'm just laughing at the whole Russia Gate distraction. Looks like everyone there is climaxing, but I do see a bread and circus scenario behind this, as usual. Other important things are occurring. And I just found out this morning that Chris Cornell passed away. According to Detroit police, it's considered an apparent suicide. I was reading some of the articles in there, and 52 years old, left with a wife and 3 children. Oldest is 16, youngest is 11. It's very morose on what occurred. We don't really know exactly what happened at this time. But I'm not going to jump on the exploited bandwagon as well. Let's talk about Walmart and all these other places that want to be selling Soundgarden records. Sometimes I find that pretty deceiving. I could tell you this. A lot of stuff I heard from Chris Cornell musically. Some early Soundgarden albums, and afterwards, if unknown, I wasn't really too keen about it. Some of the stuff for Audioslave, to me, was alright as well. However, the man had a lot of talent. Never take that away. I was fortunate to see him in Tampa around January of 1990, when it was them, the Big F, and Voivod was headlining. That was during their supporting album, Louder Than Love. If I'm correct, Chris Cornell was only like 24, I think. 24 or 25, something like that. I think it was 25. And I got to admit, it was a really fantastic set. That's when Soundgarden was hungry and he had that drive, and he did a great version of American Woman by the Guess Who. The show was very consistent. Busted a couple mics, but of course, the band paid for it. And I met him at Y&T Records New Year's Eve. They were doing an autograph session, meet and greet, down in near Coral Gables. And man, they were nice guys. But it's a real shame of what occurred. Like I said, we don't know the whole scenario on that. But regardless, the man left a lot of great songs people still listen to today. And we don't know for sure if he was on meds. I have no idea. Hope that's not the case. But sometimes something like that does occur. Well, I'm just going to see how accurate this information come out. They said there was no blood, no foul play. I don't know. But definitely send your love and support to the family members, his heirs. They really need it in this horrific moment in their lives. So if you're out there tonight, during the week, give a toast to him. Pay homage to this man. May his soul be forever free. And that's all I have to say about Chris Cornell. All right. Well, everyone's being distracted of the whole Russiagate fiasco, and you see all the political bobbleheads from Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, possibly dumbed down David Wasserman show, and Phil Graham, all talk about the Russiagate. Russia maybe been influenced the United States elections. I personally, to be very honest, I'm laughing so hard, and people are chewing it up. Why is that? Why you folks are jumping on that ludicrous bandwagon? Yes, I am critical of Donald Trump on his actions. A lot of you folks heard me on my past episodes. I still back it up today. If it was influenced by Israel, how many people will go all up in arms? Not a whole lot. The ones that may be critical may be called anti-Semitic. And even in the past, the United States got involved in elections, interfered with countries' affairs, CIA and all that. Plenty of information out there. Blowback is a great book to read. Fantastic example. And even go through the National Security Archives. Plenty of information out there how the CIA got involved in nations' affairs. But that's okay, right? They're not making a big stink about it. As far as I'm concerned, a lot of these people, Congress, are a bunch of damn wuss-ass hypocrites. Each and every one of them, they're on this bandwagon. If you still support these clowns, then you're just a bunch of zombified buffoons, and I say that in good faith. So, well, while everyone's getting distracted on that, let's talk about Seth Rich. I know last year he was found dead. They said he was robbed, but the stories change over and over again. And many of us, conspiracy theorists they call, have been vindicated once again. And let's check this out on Seth Rich. This is by Matt Agaris. He said Twitter rages as media tries to silence the public over DNC murder. On Monday night, a local Fox affiliate out of Washington, D.C. dropped a bombshell from a private investigator and former suicide detective Rod Wheeler. The bombshell was in regard to the murder of Democratic National Committee staffer Seth Rich. Wheeler revealed that Rich had been in touch with WikiLeaks prior to his death and had leaked thousands of internal emails to the Transparency Group. My investigation up to this point shows there was some degree of email exchange between Seth Rich and WikiLeaks, Wheeler said. The police department nor the FBI have been forthcoming. They haven't been cooperating at all. I believe that the answer to solving his death on that computer lies on that computer, which I believe is either at the police department or either at the FBI. I have been told both. When Wheeler was asked if his sources have told him whether there is information that links to Rich to WikiLeaks, he said, absolutely yes, that's confirmed. Additionally, Wheeler, who was hired by the family to investigate Rich's family, has received information from his sources inside the D.C. Police Department that suggests powerful forces are working to corrupt the truth about the killing. My investigation shows somehow within the D.C. government, Democratic National Committee, or Clinton team is blocking the murder investigation from going forward. Wheeler told Fox News that it's unfortunate Seth's murder is unsolved as a result of that. After the revelation began to go media viral, receiving coverage from nearly every alternative media outlet, veritable shitstorm of Russian scandal began to cloud the digital airwaves. I wonder why. To all you distractaholics out there that are manifesting on this Russian gate. Headlines like Trump revealed highly classified information to Russian foreign minister and ambassador began appearing almost immediately after the Seth Rich revelation. On Wednesday, the news of Trump's alleged Russian ties, when joined by the chanting chorus of calls for his impeachment. Even Representative Justin Amash on Wednesday said if the reports about Trump's pressure Comey are true, it would merit impeachment. Yeah, but if you drop bombs on other countries without without any congressional approval, you would be a hero. The illegal wars, right? 1860, Abraham Lincoln wins the Republican Party nomination over William H. Seward, who later became United States Secretary of State. Napoleon Bonaparte is proclaimed Emperor of the French by the French Senate. Interesting. While Trump's in office certainly warrants scrutiny over his lies, flip-flopping, and pandering to the terrorist Saudi Arabian regime, the mainstream media at large is continuing to ignore information on Seth Rich. Despite the overwhelming amount of historical rhetoric being blasted out from mainstream media outlets across the country, social media users have fought back, and Seth Rich continues to trend. I don't agree that it was a robbery gone. Hashtag Seth Rich was in contact with hashtag WikiLeaks 12 days before his death. So there's some stuff on there. Okay, Jojo 8888 as well. Despite the establishment attempting to divert the conversation toward a non-existent threat of Russian interference into the election, it appears the public, at least those on Twitter, is not buying it. If one of my staffers was murdered and it remained unsolved 10 months later, I'd never shut up about it. DNC. Crickets. Rich. Observe, think, create. The impetus behind sweeping the Seth Rich information under the rug and overt and futile attempts to cover them up is perfectly clear if Seth Rich is WikiLeaks' source. For the hacked emails, the mainstream media's fake news story about Russian meddling coming crashing down. At Robert Reeler, thank you for conducting this investigation. Don't let the system silence you. Hashtag Seth Rich is Rob Do. Notably, WikiLeaks' Julian Assange has been quite outspoken on the topic since it began, knowing that the Russian was categorically not the source of the DNC emails, while Assange has stopped short of identifying Rich as his source of the emails, as WikiLeaks never divulged his sources. He has shown an unusual interest in this case. Christopher 2.0 has stated hashtag Seth Rich was the source for hashtag WikiLeaks Clinton and DNC emails. Robert left a wallet, smartphone, and expensive watch. That's Michael Sweeney. As Jay Desopoulos notes, when Assange has stopped short of identifying Rich as the source of the emails, as WikiLeaks never divulged his sources, he has shown an unusual interest in the case. WikiLeaks had decided to issue $20,000 reward for information leading to the conviction for the murder of DNC staffer Seth Rich, the organization announced shortly after his murder. Wheeler says police need to consider other alternatives, especially given the statements made by Julian Assange in response to questions about Rich's killing. After announcing that WikiLeaks would pay $20,000 for information leading to the conviction of Rich's murder, Assange went on to an interview with Newsy. During the interview, Assange implied Rich was his source. Assange says, "We're supposed to go to significant efforts to get us material and often significant risk. There's a 27-year-old that works for the DNC and who was shot in the back, murdered for unknown reasons, and he was walking down the street in Washington, D.C. The host goes, was that just a robbery, isn't it? Assange goes, no, there's no fine. So the host says, what are you suggesting? And he says, I'm suggesting that our sources take risk and they become concerned to see things occurring like that. The host goes, but he was one of your sources then. And Assange goes, we don't comment on who our sources are. In a subsequent appearance on Fox News channel, Assange confirmed we're interested in anything that might be a threat to alleged WikiLeaks sources, because on social media have been paying attention and sifting through the disinformation. The story is not getting buried. A Washington Post published fake news hashtag Trump Russia intel leak story just 1 hour after Seth Rich bombshell. Distraction. Keep making noise. Democrats for Trump. Young Dems for Trump says here, well, the issue of Seth seems, issues of Seth Seth Rich seems to be more widely accepted and investigated by those on the right. His death transcends party lines. Those who are paying attention to the party lines mean nothing. Now, the Obama regime spied on foreign media has been proven. WikiLeaks was under the Intel Constant probe. Seth Rich never stood a chance. Says no consent. Despite overwhelming calls for a closer investigation into the death of Seth Rich, the silence from the Trump administration on the issue is deafening. I'm not aware of that. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer replied when asked by a reporter about the news, adding that it would be highly inappropriate to comment on the investigation. The DNC remains entirely mum as well. We know of no evidence that support these allegations. We are continuing to cooperate with investigators and have no further comment. DNC spokesperson Zakahini Hinojosa said in a statement, representing the Rich family. Brad Bauman, a professional Democratic PR crisis consultant with the recently formed Pastorum Group, released a statement denying the allegations as well. While we certainly don't know who killed Seth Rich, to ignore the information by wholeheartedly dismissing it based on party lines or media talking points is irresponsible at best. It's high time. It's high time Americans realize who's at the helm in this country. People who care not about laying waste to human lives worldwide to make a buck and maintain control. To think that the murder of a DNC staffer covers up information is somehow crazed and unfounded conspiracy theory is equally irresponsible. His name was Seth Rich Podesta. I'm definitely we're making an example of a suspected leak, whether or not we have any real basis for it. That's WikiLeaks on October 30th, 2016. So all of these distractions of what's going on, and this is not as important. I can tell all you folks out there one thing. Let these sons of bitches know you're giving us distractions. We don't need you. We want to know what's going on with the Seth Rich murder case. Bunch of cowards out there trying to hide this. Like Rod Wheeler said. Even the police are not saying the word or not giving out information, not cooperating with the investigator and the FBI. Pretty damn sick, I would say. But, so, we're going to hit this next one here by Charlie Nash. It's by Breitbart. It says here, 4 unanswered questions surrounding murdered DNC staffer Seth Rich. Came out May 16th. It says here, 1. If Rich was murdered in a robbery gone wrong, why was his wallet, watch, and phone left behind? Following Rich's July 2016 death in the Bloomingdale neighborhood of Washington, D.C., police officers claimed that it was likely the DNC staffer was shot during a robbery gone wrong. This doesn't explain, however, why Rich was found to still be in possession of all his personal items, including a wallet, watch, and mobile phone, which are the often primary targets during the street robbery. There had been a struggle. His hands were bruised, his knees are bruised, his face is bruised, and yet he had 2 shots in the back, and yet they never took anything. Says Rich's girlfriend, NBC News, they didn't finish robbing him, they just took his life. 2. Why haven't the DNC offered a reward for information related to his murder? Numerous groups, organizations, and individuals offered a reward for information related to Rich's murder, including WikiLeaks, GOP lobbyist James Berkman, crowdfunding, bounty site researcher, and author Michael Kernovich. The DNC and other Democratic Party organizations, however, have not. Rich's death was memorialized by the DNC with a bike rack and a plaque. Why are the left-wing and mainstream media ignoring the case? The murder of Seth Rich has been a hot topic among conservative, libertarian, alternative news outlets since the incident took place last year. However, the left-wing and mainstream media has largely ignored the case, only mentioning the staffer's name during the conspiracy articles about Russian hacking. A quick Google search of Seth Rich will return dozens of news articles on the subject from sources such as Fox News, The Washington Examiner, and Heat Street, but few from outlets such as CNN and MSNBC. The Washington Post did publish a story related to Rich Wednesday afternoon, but focused on Rich's parents, claim that reports of him contacting WikiLeaks were without evidence. Those articles, which do appear on left-wing sites, all featured headlines which immediately brand questions surrounding his death as conspiracy theories and seek to deter investigations. The Washington Post published an article in August 2016 titled "Trump Allies, WikiLeaks and Russia are pushing a nonsensical conspiracy theory about the DNC hacks," while Huffington Post's coverage of Richie's murder last year consisted of stories such as Donald Trump has a long history of linking his political opponents to people's deaths, and conspiracy theorists won't stop accusing the Clintons of murder. CNN published one single story on Seth Rich's death last year and straight news article on the murder with a quote from former DNC chairman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Now, please, let me go to the bathroom or take a dump instead of listening to her. The majority of left-wing sites have completely ignored the recent reports that Rich was the source of thousands of internal emails leaked to WikiLeaks before his death, despite the fact that they worked consistently to refute these claims beforehand. 4. Will the Democrats still push that Russia hacked the DNC, despite the increasing amount of evidence proving the opposite of frequent left-wing talking points is to claim that it was Russia who hacked the DNC and leaked information to WikiLeaks. This argument, however, ignores the fact that WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange stated on numerous occasions that Russia was not a source of the leaks, implying instead that it was Rich. DNC hacker Grucifer 2.0 also allegedly claimed in messages to an actress that Rich was one of his whistleblowers when a private detective claimed this week that Rich was in contact with WikiLeaks before his death. Most claim that Russia hacked the election are based reports from CrowdStrike, a cybersecurity firm which has been reported to have ties with Google and the Obama administration, while the FBI did not examine the DNC's server themselves. CrowdStrike's report was heavily refuted by DNC hacker Grucifer 2.0 in a report on his own. So, war on whistleblowers continue, but this is too big. What did Seth Rich actually gave to WikiLeaks? That's one thing we have to think about. One thing I know for sure, a lot of dirty dealings going on within Washington, D.C., and anyone that's involved should all be indicted and pay the maximum under the judicial due process. Whether it's in the DNC, the Washington, D.C. Police, or the Federal Bureau of Investigations. You got all your criminal elements in there, according to these two articles. Something to really think about, my friends. You bless the Seth family, Seth Rich's family, and make sure justice will prevail for them in this entirety. And I would like to thank Fox News for having the courage to put this out. I'm not too crazy about that. I'll be very honest, but when they did that report with the PI private investigator Wheeler, I gotta give them kudos for that, because it has to be addressed, and everyone has a right to know what's going on. It's just another example of we gotta stop the war on whistleblowers and journalists, because there's terrorists, and I say no way in hell. We should have let this proceed. Okay, so we're gonna do one more here. I know it's pretty short and sweet. I'm in that mood. This one here came out today by The Intercept about Donald Trump. Donald Trump says Saudi Arabia was behind 9/11. Now he's going there on his first foreign trip. Oh man, the status quo continues, right? This is by Mahdi Hassant. And it says here, does Donald Trump have even an ounce of shame? As a presidential candidate, he spent on the election campaign meeting, critiquing, denouncing, and even threatening the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Yet, as president, he's making his first foreign visit this weekend to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Even at Trumpian standards, a volatile face is brazen in his first few months in power. We have witnessed the trademark Trump turnabout on issues ranging from NATO to China to the Export-Import Bank. We have listened to him go from praising Bashar al-Assad and rebuking Janet Yellen on the campaign trail to praising Yellen and rebuking Assad in office. Last October, he said that then FBI Director James Comey had guts for doing the right thing last week. He sacked Comey and called him a showboat and a grandstander. Trump, put it mildly, is no stranger to the shameless U-turn. Still, the Trump turnabout on Saudi Arabia. One of America's closest allies since President Franklin D. Roosevelt met with King Abdul Aziz bin Saud aboard the USS Murphy in 1945 is a true sight to behold. This weekend, Trump will arrive in Saudi Arabia for the bilateral summit with King Salman, as well as a series of meetings with the members of the Gulf Cooperation Council. There will be handshakes, hugs, and smiles galore. We will be expected to forget how Trump blasted the Saudi royals for being freeloaded and threatened them with an economic boycott. Speaking to the New York Times last year, Trump claimed that without U.S. support and protection, Saudi Arabia wouldn't exist for very long. The real problem, he continued, was that the Saudis are a money machine, and yet they don't reimburse us the way we should be reimbursed. Asked if he would be willing to stop buying oil from the Saudis if they refuse to pull their weight, Trump responded, "Oh yeah, sure, I would do that." We will be also expected to ignore the fact that Trump slammed the Saudi government for executing homosexuals and treating women horribly. In the third presidential debate last October, Trump attacked Hillary Clinton for taking $25 million from the Saudis, from people that push gays off buildings. There are people that kill women and treat women horribly and yet take their money. Perhaps above all else, we will be expected to brush under the carpet the fact that twice in a single day, Trump accused Saudi Arabia of being behind the 9/11 attacks, who blew up the World Trade Center as a question mark. Trump asked his pals at Fox News and Friends on the morning of February 17th, 2016, if it wasn't the Iraqis, it was Saudi Arabia. A look at Saudi Arabia opened the documents. At a campaign event in South Carolina later that day, he again cited secret papers that could prove it was the Saudis who were, in fact, responsible for the attacks in 9/11. It wasn't the Iraqis that knocked down the World Trade Center because they have the papers that they're very secret. You may find it's Saudis, okay? To be fair, far more credible and better informed figures to have come to a similar conclusion. I'm convinced there was a direct line between at least some of the terrorists who carried out the September 11 attacks and the government of Saudi Arabia, wrote former Florida Senator Bob Graham, who co-chaired the Senate Intelligence Committee inquiry into 9/11 in an affidavit in 2012. Whether or not the Saudi government played a role in 9/11 attacks, we may never know, for a leading U.S. presidential candidate claimed that they did, not once but twice, had to be seen to be believed, and yet astonishingly, a little over a year later, it is to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that Trump has chosen to make his maiden foreign voyage, rather than to Canada or Mexico, as every president since Ronald Reagan has. Will Trump return from his Saudi jaunt with the big fat check, his much hype, reimbursement? Will he dare raise the issue of gay rights while in Riyadh, or women's rights? Will he manage to bring back a Saudi royal or two in handcuffs for their alleged role in 9/11 attacks? Please, there are greater odds of the American president coming back as a proud convert to Islam. Hypocrisy is not the exclusive preserve of Trump or the United States, of course. Saudi Arabia sees itself as the birthplace of Islam, ruled by a king who styles himself custodian of the two holy mosques. Yet, his coming weekend, the Saudi government will offer a warm and lavish welcome to a president who has said Islam hates us and wanted us to ban all the world's 1.6 million Muslims from entering the United States. Saudi Arabia's position on the latest iteration of the Trump travel ban targeted 107 million odd Muslims. A sovereign decision aimed apparently at preventing terrorists from entering the United States, made by true friends of Muslims. On Sunday, the fawning Saudis will offer a platform to the world's most famous Islamophobe to give a speech on Islam in the birthplace of Islam. And Trump will likely take the opportunity to decry radical Islamic terrorism while visiting a country that has perhaps done more than any other to incite, fund, and fuel it. Hypocrisy unites them both. So, too, does their fear and loathing of Iranians. The Saudis are busy in dropping bombs and backing militants to push back Iranian influence in Yemen and Syria. The Trump administration, filled with Iran hawks, is on the verge of inking a series of arms deals with Riyadh worth more than $100 billion. To be clear, Trump's U-turn on Saudi Arabia has little to do with being moderate by the realities of high office or swayed by Beltway's foreign policy elites. Despite his bombastic campaign rhetoric, he never planned to go after the Saudis in office, even after publicly accusing them of murdering 3,000 Americans. Early on in the campaign of 2015, a senior Arab diplomat told me on a condition of anonymity that Trump had informed most of the Gulf governments in private that his anti-Muslim and anti-Arab rhetoric was all for the campaign, and it would be business as usual once he was elected, or that matter defeated. As ever for Trump, is always, above all else, about the bottom line, his bottom line. Saudi bashing Trump sold an entire floor of the Trump World Tower to the Saudis for $4.5 million in 2001. And would it surprise you to discover that Trump also registered 8 companies tied to hotels' interest in Saudi Arabia in the midst of his Saudi-bashing presidential campaign? Of course not. Business is business. Trump is Trump. You might be repulsed by his deceitfulness, but you have to admire his chapaz. There's links on here too. You can see this for yourself. And I got to admit, The Intercept got some good, decent articles in here. So, like I said, my friends, more things change, more it stays the same. Correct? That's why this whole hoopla of Trump being impeached. I just see a lot of smoke and mirrors, my friends. You have people that love them or hate them, fight amongst each other while bigger stuff is happening around them. Con men, indulging on the Jim Jones syndrome, Operation Mockingbird, Mind Control 101, etc. Do yourself a favor. Stop fighting amongst each other on Donald Trump and stand together to get rid of all these scumbags that are involved with foreign deals in Washington, D.C. This including people being associated with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is nothing more than conniving pieces of garbage. And he wants to attack Iran, right? Please. If you believe you should attack Iran, you go in the front. Let's see how tough you are. When's the last time Iran actually had invaded a country? No, I'm not too crazy about their government. I boldly admit that. But this is what they're focusing on. One world order to be fulfilled. Another step towards that. This is why, my friends, you gotta pay attention and stay vigilant and don't get manifest on this lamestream garbage you see on the news. It's more of a dog and pony show as far as I'm concerned. Don't get distracted. Stay vigilant, live free, and unite. That is it, my friends. I'd like to thank everyone for listening to the show. Plus, feel free to download and share throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or even send me something that's interesting I may want to check out. Whatever you do, please Address your correspondences with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Freedoms Network, Scene.life, Minds.com. Ooh. FutureNet. That's another website. And you could donate your money or some your comments as well to patreon.com/LokiLuck, the 3, which is 3 I's altogether. In addition, you can email me at LokiLuck3, LokiLuck number 3 altogether, gmail.com, or you can, all you encrypted types, LokiLuck03 at protonmail.com. Whew, okay, my friends, that's all for now. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love. May your guardian spirits be with you.